Breakfast with Bob.
Hey everybody, Bob Babbitt here. We are brought to you by the PTO, Pro Triathletes Organization, Amp Human, VeloFix, Normatec Form Goggles, UCAN, and our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Not long ago, I had the opportunity to chat with a gentleman who won the first ever Olympic gold medal in the sport of triathlon and an Olympic silver, Simon Whitfield. Simon, how the heck you doing, brother?
I'm good, Bob. It's great to, like I said, it's great to hear from you, and it's always fun to connect. Your love of our sport always gets me going. So,
you were just telling me, it's funny because I had an old cell for you, and I sent a text going, "Hey, Simon, want to do a radio show? I'd love to do a Zoom call with you." And the person who now has your cell texts back, and he goes, "Hey, I'm a big fan of the show. Love what you do. I got Simon's old number, I guess, a number of years ago, and let him know that he owes me a beer at the Beagle." I love that.
Yeah, it's good to connect. Like I said, it's the triathlon world. I'm involved peripherally, but I keep them. I watch, and so to see what you've been doing and the changes that have happened and how triathlon's just adapted. It's great.
It's very cool. And so you just did speaking of new things in triathlon, swim run. You just did one of those with Lance Armstrong not that long ago.
Well, yeah, I did actually. I did it. It was life travels fast. I that was a year and a bit ago. I did it with Lars Vinanger last year.
Yeah.
I went back to race swim run Orcas Island. It was just unbelievable. It was triathlon in the 80s. I mean, it was so Lars and the crew just have figured out like how we still keep this. I love the blue carpet and the drums and the spin.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. But at the end of the day, like triathlon is, and endurance sport is just like, hey, let's get from here to over there and back. And that swim run really has captured that. Make your own way, bring your own gear. I remember the race briefing. He literally just like, this is the race mat. And someone's like, I can't see it in the back of the room. And he goes, just come closer then. And I just thought like, oh, finally. We're in the state park. We're in this old log cabin doing the race briefing. And it's just, it got back in touch with that just real basic element of endurance sport, which is just get from here to there, make your way. Don't ask for too much.
So when you did the swim run with Lance Armstrong, you were just telling me before we started that you guys are like in wetsuits, walking basically in the middle of nowhere. Tell us again what happened with that.
Well, the whole experience, I mean, to get a call from Lance, I've stayed in touch with Lance over the years, what he's gone through, and I've had my own experience around it, and I stayed true to the idea of like my personal interaction with Lance has always been that he asked me how I'm doing. And he checked in when I crashed in after London. When he heard I got divorced, he just reached out randomly and said, "How you good, bro?"
Yeah.
And that, I get all the other part, blah blah blah. But my personal experience has been one of someone who showed a genuine interest in how I'm doing as a person. And so when he reached out to see if I was interested in ducking across the border to go do this thing, of course I was like, this is like, I kind of double checked of like, is this really happening? And I saw a little glimpse into his world. I mean, he reached a level of notoriety that I wouldn't wish on anybody for whatever reason, without all the other stuff. And I saw this human side of him there that was really interesting. I saw him struggle, and I saw him get frustrated, and I saw him be really kind, and I saw him be a little gruff. And at the end of it, I was like, oh yeah, you're like a Texan, like you're a Texan. Behave a lot like a Texan. And I mean that in a really nice way. I mean, like, there was a real genuineness to some of the things that he did that I thought that people have a story about him. They just want it to be different than that. But I saw little moments, and one of those moments was halfway through this event where we're out in the middle of nowhere. Like, we're both we've tried to be competitive for a while. Eventually we're just like, I'm like, dude, can we walk for a bit? Like, I'm tired. I'm sore. I didn't run enough. I'm not wearing the right gear. And he's totally, yeah, let's do it. And so we're just walking along, and this couple walks by him, and he says, "Howdy, ma'am." And she passes by him and then gets to me and turns to her husband, and she's like, as she's passed me, she says, "I'm sorry, was that Lance Armstrong in a wetsuit saying howdy, ma'am?" And I said, I said, "It sure was, man. It sure was." And it was just those funny moments of realizing just the level of recognition that he achieved, and then to be out there in our ridiculous costumes, just being two guys that just like to go from here to there, and all that was just like for this little window was left behind.
What's cool is I started covering Lance when he was doing Iron Kids Triathlon, when he was like 10, 11, 12 years old. And you were doing Kids of Steel, right? When you were 11, that's what got you into this stuff.
Right.
What was it about this sport that you dug early on?
Just being outside.
Yeah.
I thought it was so many other things coming out of sport when I missed sport so much. And I just thought it must be this, and it must be that. It must be the total immersiveness of it. And that's partly true. It must be the competitive nature of it. That's partly true. But I think I just love I run this paddle shack here in Victoria at the Oak Bay Marina, and I just love getting there at 5 o'clock in the morning and leaving at 5 o'clock at night and getting people out on the water. I just like being outside.
Yes.
So all of those other things were just, in the end, I was like, I think I just found a sport that required you to be preoccupied, which is such a beautiful thing. Skilled attention. You have just like clarity in what you're doing, and you're in fresh air.
I know.
So,
I tell people all the time when I first got into it, I was like, what I liked about it, being so hyperactive, you get in the water and you're going, oh, I'm a little scared. The water's cold. Oh, I'm feeling good. This is nice. Oh, my arms are getting tired. Oh, I'm done. Now I'm on the bike and this is great. This is fun. Oh, this hill sucks. I hate this. This is awful. Oh, I'm off the bike. I'm done. I'm running. This is great. Oh, this is bad. This is good. Oh, I'm in the beer garden. I mean, it's like you're living all these different things all in anywhere from 1 hour to 8 hours. It's just fun.
It is, and it's challenging, and it takes, it comes again back to that preoccupation piece. It's like the blessing of preoccupation, something to be just consumed by and immersed in and want to know all the details about, and just like pour your heart and soul into it. And as a professional athlete, and then coming out of that, that's something I really began to appreciate even more. It's like the joy of it. Like I got to be immersed and tried to be a master of something, and just the preoccupation that comes with that, I really enjoyed. And if it's something that's outside, there's not a lot to complain about.
So when you heard that the sport was going to be in the Olympics, right? It was going to be a premiere in 2000, and I think they announced it in 94 or 95, something like that. Was that sort of the catalyst for you to, I think I could be good at this and I want to go make an Olympic team?
Yeah, I grew up in Kingston, Ontario in a hockey town. And I would get checked into the boards and like shatter into a million pieces. So I wasn't, I had the endurance, I gained endurance from playing hockey all day long, but that was not going to be my sport. I hate to say the word indoctrinated, but I'm going to. You get a little indoctrinated into this idea that you're going to carry the flag, you're going to go to the Olympics, you're going to represent your country.
Right.
And that's great. It's great. And then when it actually happens, what's great about it is it really makes you question those things. It makes you say, okay, I did that, and now what? And what does that really mean? And that's been the interesting part for me, was growing up wanting to represent Canada, wanting to go stand on the podium, wanting to hear the national anthem, all those, saying the right things about it.
Right.
And then stopping and going, hey, just a second, let's be careful with nationalism. Let's be careful with this. Like, this is not about competition and better than. This is about cultures coming together and people gathering. And that's been the trend, that big shift for me. As someone that carried the flag twice, I was asked about those things. I gave the proper answers. And then I began to reflect on, like, what does that really mean? Like, and now we're seeing it, and it's timely. Like, what does it mean to have that flag? And what would it mean to say, for instance, not carry the flag or to kneel? And those questions are good questions, and they're questions that should be asked, and they're questions that are hard answers. And that's the good stuff. And I'm into that now. I'm really, and it comes from when you're in the ocean, and and the United States is 19 kilometers across the strait, and you can see the glory of the Olympic mountain range and Port Angeles, and Seattle's right there. the idea that a human being can't just simply, that they come across the water and then this sort of fictional arbitrary, like, oh, sorry, that's yours and this is ours and you can be there but you can't be here. I have a hard time with that. I have a hard time. I go, wait a minute. So if an American came over here and was like, I need to we're able to just suddenly say, well, you know, look, here's our passport, here's the thing, I get it. We need all that structure. But part of me thinks also, let's acknowledge that that's ridiculous.
Well,
That's
yeah. As an athlete, you just want to, if I'm paddling or I'm running or I'm cycling, why can't I just go from, that's what I've done my whole life, go from point A to point B? Why do I need to be going through some checkpoint to get to point B?
For sure, I get it. I understand. Very easy to piece together, well, if this happened, then that, and personal property rights, and yada, yada, yada. I got it. But part of me is just like, so you're saying if a human who was struggling and needed your assistance stepped on that, you suddenly have this position of like, well, I might let you in. I'm like, okay, just a second. That's so, like, come on, you know, wait. We need to have an honest conversation about what that piece really means. Like, I'm from here, you're from there. This is me, that's you. That divisive stuff, I have a hard time with it.
What's fascinating is you think about it from 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012. Your life was Olympics, right? It's all about going to those games. And now when you look back on it, do you look at it and go, God, that was a great era of my life, but I'm just a different guy now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There's elements of it. There's elements of it that I miss, the mastery, the preoccupation. But there are other aspects of it that I have a hard time reconciling. The sacrifices that were made and the costs that were paid and the friendships and the relationships along the way that at the time you thought may repair one day, and 20 years later, just, they're just still not. You go, all that, and 20 years passed or 10 years passed, and you're still angry at me about this thing that happened, like.
I know, because you're an athlete, and the idea is, I was interviewing Norman Stadler, and we were talking about the rivalry with him and Chris McCormick, and he's like, listen, we're both dads now. We can sit down and have a coffee or a wine or whatever. That was when we were competing. You sort of had to have that. If I want to be the best, I'm representing myself, my country. I want to be, if I'm going to be on the podium, I want to be the top of the podium. So that's the drive. But you figure that goes away when, you're not lacing them up for your country anymore. You're paddling. You're out there having fun. People should get along.
I have that, I have an outlet with soccer. I play in the Vancouver Island Soccer League for Bays United. And,
nice.
I love it. And we have that rivalry, and I want to beat that other team in a fun kind of, like, I'll shake your hands afterwards and we'll have a laugh out on the field, but I want us to score one more goal than you. Like I said, individual sports are really tough, like, I think that's not, I appreciate this now because I came from team sport as a kid, and I couldn't fit in. I didn't fit quite into the hockey team. I didn't fit into to whatever summer sport I was playing, soccer team. I was an individual athlete. I did an individual athlete's career, and now I love going to the bench at the soccer and having teammates, and I struggle with it. I'm that guy going, I made the local all-star team, and I went into the locker room before the game, and I was just like, I didn't know what to say. I don't do the banter. I'm used to competing with the people in the locker room.
Right.
I'm used to thinking the world of Javier Gomez, but wanting to beat him. I think the world of Jan Frodeno. I want to beat him. And all of a sudden I'm in this locker room with guys. I'm like, well, oh no, wait, you're on my team. And we're in this together. And you're looking for, particularly with me, they were looking for a little bit of like, oh, the Olympic guy's here. Like, he's going to know what to do. And I'm looking at him like, I don't know what to do right now. I run a lot. I'm not going to get tired today. I can't use my left foot particularly well. And I sort of know the soccer strategy. And I've enjoyed that transition, but I struggle with that transition too.
Yes. So when you win the Olympic gold, and we're talking about this is the first ever Olympic triathlon, and you're winning it for your country. How did that change your world, or did it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've spoken this. I've had to kind of walk through this a lot in
Sure.
subsequent years, and so what I've come to is that at some point you just love being. I said you love being immersed in something,
Right.
and you have this real kid-like purity to it. Like I just want to compete. I want to represent myself. I want to work hard. And then you gain notoriety because of this thing you did, and the gates open. You have like literally a golden ticket that will let you into whatever event you want to go to, and people will pay you for your time. And that part I really struggled with. I didn't see it at the time. I had the golden ticket and I was running around using it, right? And I was
Right.
like, but 20 years later, now I'm like, oh man, like that notoriety that was gained. Gained is the wrong word, like you pay.
Oh, big time.
Oh man. And I'm very, I love you who reach out. I know you, I want to connect. And I trust that we're going to talk about things that are relevant to what happened, but also today, right?
Right.
Like I
Yep.
know we're going to talk about going forward. What's life like in these things, and not always be a conversation about something that happened, because
Right.
that's a really odd world. Because you come up and this happens where you go into a room, you've gained some notoriety, and people say, oh, I know that guy. And then they don't just say they know it from across the room. They come up and they say, I know you. And then they tell me what they know about you, and it may or may not be right. And then, particularly with men, then they put their sporting thing out. They say, I didn't really come to the level you did, but this is my sporting resume. And then you're in this awkward, like,
That's
okay,
great. Yeah.
I don't really know what to say right now. And then they say, well, it's great talking to you, and they leave. And you kind of think to yourself, honestly, you go like, I'm not sure we actually spoke there. Like, I think you just told me what you know about me. Then you told me a fact about yourself to kind of posture back. And I didn't say a word. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be anything. That's a weird experience when people tell you things about you that they know, and you go like, holy shit, like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Or they've heard a story, or I don't know. And then they posture with you. That's exhausting. It means that you leave a lot of rooms early. You become very good at Irish goodbyes.
And I think what people tend to do is they see Simon Whitfield and they think gold medalist, silver medalist. That's who you are. They don't know you as a person. They know the facts. You meet Bill Gates and you go, hey, he started Microsoft. He did this. He did that. We know people because of their resume more so than them as people.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a point where you knew you needed to move on from? Because what a lot of people do is they'll go through the chase for Olympic gold, and then they go, okay, I'm a triathlete. Now I'm going to move on to the next level. I'm going to go to 70.3 or Ironman or that type of stuff. And you didn't seem to go there. You seemed like at that point, were you looking for something new, a new adventure?
I mean, life happens quick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's that funny meme, life comes at you quick. So I came home from London thinking, let's do the next thing, Ironman, half Ironman. I'm good at this. I'll keep doing it. And then personal life comes quick. And then you realize, I better make some choices here. Am I going to just keep walking down that path where I'm away a lot and keep reinforcing the mistakes I've made? Or do I make the changes that are necessary? And that was, for me, it was hard to go through, but it was a blessing because I had to go through it, and I didn't have a choice, which meant that I came out pretty quickly. Any thought I had of being a professional athlete was like, well, wait a minute, how am I going to do those two things? How am I going to be home more, spend more time with my family, be more non-exhausted time,
Right.
attentive time. And then again, the notoriety piece hit quick, where suddenly I'm at the park with my two young daughters, and I'm looking at stories about myself on instant media, and I'm thinking, uh-oh, like I'm broken right now, like I'm like I should be just engaged with my kids at the park, my phone long gone. And instead I'm like in this weird kind of revalidation over and over and over again. I'm still valid. I'm still relevant. I'm still being talked about. And that hit me just like, I was like, oh no, this is not okay. I can't do this. I can't exist in those two worlds. I can't perform for the camera right now. I gotta be
with your kids.
I
Gotta be a dad.
I gotta be like the people that are around me. I can't. It's what we see with social media, and I see the positive also that comes with it. But there's that piece that's that like manufactured spontaneity, and that's that experience. I was like, oh whoa! I think I just crafted a Instagrammable moment. Like I shifted the whole scene of what we were doing so the light was right and the likes would be good. And I'm like, and I'm not present. I'm actually annoying. I'm like my granddad when he had a camera. My granddad was amazing. As soon as he got a camera, all you did was have to shuffle into the frame and yelling at you photo. And I'm that guy. You know, I'm like curating every moment to portray an image of who I want to be seen as instead of just being there with my kids. And so that happened. I go through this with it. I get caught out. I do a thing where I go, oh shit, why did I do that? Oh yeah, we all like attention. And then I retract and I go and I have that little unfriendly conversation with myself, you know, and then I get back to being present in the day to day and not manufacturing each moment for the little screen to see, but just to be aware. And now I really like that. I spend a lot of time where we come back and go, oh man, it would be neat to get a photo of that. Oh, well, you know,
But it's in your head. You've got the photo. Yeah.
I look back, I'm in grade 12. I'm at Knox Grammar School. Ben Dunn is the captain of our cricket team. The Joey's guy hits it and they're crushing us. And Dunny reaches out and catches it and makes this incredible out to put the Joey's captain out. And our team is getting crushed, but he stops the onslaught. And we all erupt. And 2 seconds later, the cameraman says, oh no, the battery died. I didn't catch it. And I remember thinking, yeah, but you had to be here, right? Like I'm so thankful that the only people that saw it were the people who showed up in person and were there and had like felt it, you know, like saw Dunny walk off the field and be like, that's over. We're not getting crushed anymore. And I remember that. And now I really hold to that. I hold to those moments of like, yeah, you know what? We may have just done something spectacular. We may have seen a waterfall and an eagle and a humpback crested and nobody caught it on film. And you know why?
That's okay.
You had to be there. You just had to be there. So, yeah.
So what is it about paddling? What is it about getting out on the board and paddling that obviously brings you so much joy?
I grew up on Lake Ontario in Kingston, outside, and it's lake country. So I grew up. I got a mom who is out kayaking every day she can, and I knew it was special. And then I finished with triathlon, and then everything got really loud, and I didn't have nearly the same amount of alone time.
Right.
I was, all of a sudden, all day long was phone calls and emails and people. And I was like, oh my goodness, I used to spend like 6-7 hours a day alone. And now I can't stop everybody from out, I'm pulled in different directions and I'm trying to be all these different things. And the ocean just in that most raw, like alone. Yeah. Like you got to sit with it out there. And it's like with yoga, what's so beautiful about yoga is the mat will meet you where you're at. You sit there and you when you go out and run, you can distract yourself, look around the trees, or you can think about other things. You start to have a thought that you're like, oh, I'm really uncomfortable with that. You can distract yourself. But on the yoga mat and on the ocean, there's just not a lot of just like, and you have to face it. And so I've had a couple moments out there where I'm out in the middle of the ocean, cry my eyes out for a bit, because just like whelmed with all the stuff that's going on, and be like, whew, okay, I did that. I walked through it. Like I'm still here. I'm still leashed in. I didn't unleash myself, And that's very powerful. And then beyond that, it's just a spectacular way to spend time well spent, you know, in the ocean. Turns out seawater is good for you.
Well, it's pretty damn therapeutic when you're just out on the board and just can talk to yourself or talk to whoever the hell's out there. Any